The whole idea that ideas have consequences, look at our culture, look at what's taught in our schools, our universities. We even have things that are taught that aren't even true, and they're known to be not true. There are things like Haeckel's embryo pictures that are still in current textbooks. And there's all these little embryo pictures of horse and cow and pig and human, and they all look exactly alike. Well, that was proven to be a fraud back in about 1884, and it's still in the textbooks. And then you have things like the peppered moth. Well, what's going on here? You've got these peppered moths that are growing on these living on these tree trunks, and during the Industrial Revolution, apparently the tree trunks got covered with dust, and now all of a sudden the birds can't see these light-colored ones. They just kind of blend in, but they're eating all the dark-colored ones, and that just proves natural selection. Well, the fact is that whole thing was a fraud. Those moths don't even grow on tree trunks. They don't land on tree trunks. They live up in the top of the trees. And so the birds can't be eating them off the tree trunks when they don't even land on tree trunks. And so those pictures are still in the textbooks. Okay, by the way, that was exposed in 1999 publicly. And so we have a system of delusion that is propagated out there that most people don't know, and they don't even know. But there's some people that do know, and they just keep doing it. When we have people like Carl Sagan that go on television and they'll say, evolution is no longer a theory, it is a proven fact. That is baloney, and he knew that. But that's called propaganda. When a distinguished man with a PhD degree and a white lab coat gets up in front of the average Joe six-pack and says, we have proven evolution is true with our science. Well, first of all, he's not talking science, because you can't prove macroevolution with science. It is more a philosophy. The fact is, evolution is not a proven fact.
Sparrows are one of the most common birds in the world, but as a flyer, the sparrow has few equals.
We have a little sparrow, and he's flying through the air, and it looks so easy. And yet they can fly through a tree or a bush with sticks and leaves, and they never hit anything. They dodge and fly and weave, and they are able to tell those feathers, we need an adjustment here. For instance, when they are just flying normally, and let's say a little bit of a side wind catches them, they can adjust the feathers on their wings even 1 degree. They can turn those feathers, they can raise the feathers, lower the feathers. All of that is hooked in to their brain, and they can adjust different feathers, different degrees.
Feathers are some of the strongest strength-to-weight ratio materials known to man, stronger than steel.
Evolution teaches that feathers came from scales because birds came from reptiles. Does that look like a result of scales that have no muscles, they have no follicle? The whole works peels off. There's no relationship there. If they came from reptiles, you would expect their bones to be like reptile bones. They're nothing like reptile bones. They have little air pockets through them. They even can carry air in like lungs in their bones. Their bones are lightweight and made for flying. You look at a sparrow, it is made to fly.
Man has never been able to approach the efficiency of birds in terms of the ability to fly with our airplanes and other machines.
Its heart is so efficient it can beat up to 760 beats per minute. Everything about its design has captured the curiosity and imagination of flight engineers for years.
It has a very short digestive system with very concentrated digestive juices, because you can't have a whole lot of weight on the bird or it won't fly. So it has to eat and then digest it quickly and then get rid of its waste. All that had to be figured out and thought through in the design of the bird, just like in the design of the firefly or in the design of the dragonfly. Another thing about sparrows and birds, they have what's called their brooding spot. And when they're about to lay their eggs, God made them special that way because they don't have to carry all that extra weight of those eggs when they're flying. And down here on their breast area are these little feathers and downy things, and they begin to come off. And they'll use some of those to line the nest, but it leaves bare skin. And that skin is fascinating because the blood vessels in the skin multiply. There's like 7 times more than normal. They get to be 5 times as big. And then when that skin touches those eggs, somehow there is a communication that takes place from the egg through the brooding spot to the brain of the little bird. And it might say, our eggs down here, they're a little too warm. And so the bird will go off the eggs for a while. Or it might say, we have too much moisture. And so there's ways that the bird handles that. And that communication comes through that brooding spot.
Penguins actually incubate eggs on the top of their feet. They put the egg on their feet so they can keep it off the ice and snow, and then they fold a patch of belly skin and feathers over the egg and completely encase it on top of their feet. But it's a very sophisticated mechanism for keeping the temperature under direct control for the developing embryo in the egg.
How would that evolve? If you did not have that in the bird with the very first egg that the bird laid, that egg would just sit there and die. This is back to the irreducible complexity idea. All the parts have to be there from the very beginning, or you just don't have the creature. You don't have the brooding spot, you don't have the eggs. You don't have the ability to make the egg, then you're not going to be able to fly if all that stuff is inside of you. And so God has thought of all these different angles and adjustments that needed to be made to His creation to keep it working efficiently and effectively and wondrously.